2021 is in the books, but not before we turn one final page, remembering all the good we've seen all across the Arklatex over the past 12 months. Thanks for watching the Year of the Good Stuff. I'm Doug Warner.
Why did you live right here and not go nowhere else?
I go to the mailbox.
Yeah.
Sit back and enjoy this trip back in time. It's some of the most inspiring, amazing, and courageous moments I've shared with you in 2021. And no moment more courageous than the one that happened atop a bridge as two heroes in uniform were joined by an unlikely hero.
105 to 103, go ahead and 1018. Hold up, ma'am. It's going to be okay.
I knew at that time something had to be done.
In the days since that Bossier City police officer,
Unit 1010, I'm holding on.
then another,
The only thing that really clicked that moment was 1018, I'm on the ledge.
I got no leverage. I'm holding.
rushed their way to the top of this Red River Bridge just when all hope seemed lost.
That could have pulled them over. They was not gonna let go. I can already see that.
And when a third man named Rollis Leslie appeared out of nowhere,
All I saw was this blue shirt coming towards me asking, can I help? And we were both like, please.
We need boats in the water right now.
we've become increasingly fascinated with their quick thinking,
Did she say anything to you? Or?
What are you thinking in that moment?
Did you guys speak to the Good Samaritan afterwards?
their bravery.
When she took her shoes off, that to me is the indicator that now's the time.
But what makes this particular moment even more amazing is a few things I didn't share with you the other day when we first met Rollis.
The first day she found out, she went straight to hug her daddy.
Many years ago while living in Florida, while on a morning run near a beach,
I was running up the bridge, and before they could get to him, he was going ahead and trying to climb over. And as soon as he got to the point where he could push off, I was able to snatch his arm.
yeah, it happened before. He pulled the man back from the edge just as officers were pulling up on scene. And then some 20 years ago, back when he was in the Army, he and his sister LaShawn pulled up on a crash with a young lady trapped under a flipped car.
He got down with the other two gentlemen and started lifting the car so that they could pull the young lady from, the pregnant young lady from the vehicle.
Wow.
I know, right? For these officers, this sealed the deal that Rollis had to be.
The perfect person at the right time, at the right place.
But what if I told you Rollis, who's built like a linebacker, feels he's anything but the perfect person, who stepped up at really one of the worst times, at absolutely the last place he wanted to be?
That's the problem. I don't like going over bridges. I do it every day.
You see, back during his Army days, while riding in a convoy, he was involved in a bridge top accident that left him seriously injured. From that day, his bridge anxiety has gotten so bad, a few years ago, he locked up behind the wheel while driving over another local bridge.
Yeah, the Bossier police officer had to follow me over the bridge, over Jimmy Davis Bridge before. I got stuck halfway on the bridge.
For Rollis, the line between rescuer and being rescued is as thin as any line between life and death.
Yeah, I was suicidal.
When he was going through his situation, God had other plans for him.
Plans that involved Rollis and his wife Cece hopping in his truck that day.
We had just left the store, and we were going to my doctor's appointment.
And at that very moment, headed over the bridge to the VA hospital for a PTSD therapy appointment to manage his own pain. The kind of pain that everyone needs to understand can make anyone, including a hero, feel like all hope is lost.
I don't really see that as being a big deal, but I feel like anybody could have done that.
But they didn't.
Well,
A pain that all the thanks in the world helps.
After everything he has gone through in his own personal life, for him to be able to say, I am going to help.
But still isn't enough to instantly pull him back from his own daily ledge.
I love him. It actually makes me or value more life because you don't know what other people are going through, and I know what he goes through.
Those two officers and Rollis were all honored for their bravery by City Council. This past year, we also remembered the heroes from September 11th, 20 years after those terrorist attacks. And one of the most impressive remembrances was delivered by some of the youngest in uniform.
How are y'all feeling?
It's minutes before kickoff, and the mighty Pee Wee Benton Tigers are going through their pregame preparations,
This for the news?
which included being distracted by the guy with the camera.
Let me show it to the camera.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of party back there.
Let's go.
And then suddenly taking off
There you go. Use the TT.
for an untimely potty break. It's exactly what you'd expect from a group of 6, 7, and 8-year-olds, moments before their second game of the season against the defending league champs. Head coach Cole Hughes isn't a participation trophy kind of guy.
Jump on it.
He feels failure feeds success.
I believe in winners and losers, which Exhibit A, we lost every game.
But this season, which began this past Saturday, had a completely different look about it. Now, paper may cover rock, but helmet doesn't always break paper. But when it finally did on Saturday, September 11th,
Gave me chills down my spine, you know.
it was followed with a sea of star-spangled banners waving across that football field.
It was fun. I heard a very big one. It was cool.
With Double Zero's Titus Medlin leading the way.
Our military, our vets, the 13 that were killed in Afghanistan, we wanted to honor all them.
And on a day marking 20 years of healing
Because 9/11,
from one of the most painful and heartbreaking days in this country's history.
terrorists crashed into the Twin Tower that killed all these good people like firemen and policemen.
And it's a moment in time captured on this Bossier City football field that meant more than 20 years of worlds to one of the players' moms on the sidelines.
I cried. It touches my heart. I mean, going through what I got to go through with my family and whatnot, it really touches me.
Because missing from those bleachers
It's hard. I mean, trying to be mom and dad.
is Ryder's dad, Matthew, serving in the Army overseas for the last 9 months.
My first instinct was to send it to my husband. That way he could see. He sent the really big heart emoji, the big one. I just wanted to cry.
And even though the Tigers game on Monday ended with yet another success-building loss, Coach Hughes says it's this moment on September 11th he hopes will continue to teach these kids for a lifetime.
Teaching these kids the old school grit of America, to have pride in their country, and you don't see that very much anymore.
I feel it's the ultimate respect when you pause to remember not just a life lost, but how that person inspired so many others. The way a youth baseball team played for number 7, Trayson Nairn, who had died in a tragic accident earlier in the year.
I mean, do you ever get over anything like this, really?
And when the Titans took the field for the first time on defense, they did so with only 8 players instead of 9, with no one at first base.
We let one pitch go by, and then I subbed him out. And that was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But again, it is something I'll carry with me and an honor to sub him out of his last game like that.
There was some few seconds there that I couldn't catch my breath, you know, because you could almost feel him there.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And how then Bossier senior Coleman Beeson threw a no-hitter on senior night, his final high school home game ever.
When he hit that 14th strikeout, of course, we lost our minds.
On the very field where his father helped coach dozens of others for years.
He'd be screaming from the rooftop. I know he is just so proud.
And on that same field, how Bearcat Nation remembered the angel in the Cats outfield, D. Cummings.
We'll have some fun and just get to meet some of you old alumni. I know y'all been meeting each other.
Everyone was there for the big day.
This is our principal.
Plenty of former Bossier High School players, even a parish official who can actually back that talk up with his bat. And a rowdy but fun-loving crowd to cheer them all on.
I know how much he loved, I'm telling you, loved baseball.
The only person missing from this rainy but glorious day was the man himself, D. Cummings.
I do remember my brother being in the newspaper a bunch.
Both for baseball and football, an athletic hero on the playing field for sure. And according to his sister Bree, in the halls of Bossier High School as well.
I was a freshman when he was a senior. He walked me to each class, every single class. My brother went to every freshman boy and told them not to talk to me.
And a hero who made headlines last July, but not for his play on the field.
I just remember getting off that phone and I just got down on my knees and I just had to pray because I'm like, this can't be, this is not real.
But it was. 31-year-old Dee Cummings had jumped into the Texas waters of Lake Texoma to rescue his girlfriend's 2 children. Her young children made it out, but Dee's body wasn't recovered until 2 days later.
That's the bravery of my son. Courage and doing the right thing. He was a stellar kid, a young man.
His proud dad, Emery, spent most of this special Saturday morning in the very outfield where his son, in that number 3 jersey, used to chase down fly balls.
We wanted to present the Cummings family with Demarion's jersey.
Thank you so much.
The new look Cats, with its brand new coach, found the start of this season the perfect moment to honor one of this school's most heroic people. With its first ever Demarion Cummings Bossier Baseball Home Run Hitting Contest.
Get back!
Even Dee's mom, Latasha, took some honorary hacks.
Oh my gosh, I can feel his energy, you know? It just makes me feel so proud.
Come on, nephew, you got it!
And so did former player and Dee's brother, Rodney Bonds.
Oh yeah, I used to hit him about 355 all the time.
Who can still talk that brother-loving smack. It was truly a family affair. That's their pawpaw, Elijah, swinging away.
Coach Yates is going to throw it to you, okay?
And no doubt, the last few months have been the hardest on Dee's children, including 7-year-old Ariana.
Look at that.
And 10-year-old Demarion Jr., who offered glimpses of Dad's baseball prowess from years gone by.
It was fun, wasn't it? That's what happened with your dad. He got addicted to hitting the ball and he's like, yeah.
I'm good, how are you?
For the Cummings family, a day like today offered the perfect emotional break from the heartache.
What's up, brother? Y'all good, man?
And for these former Bearcats, it was a day of reliving old memories and honoring their former teammate, who always gave every ounce of himself.
He came out here every day and he worked hard, whether it be practice or a game. Definitely inspiring, definitely something that I wanted to be as I got older and grew in the program.
But for Bree, she hopes it serves as an invitation of sorts to 3 special people also missing on this day of remembrance.
My brother cared about them, and whoever he cared about, we care about.
The 2 children saved on the lake that day, and their mother.
I just would never want them to feel any kind of guilt or anything like that because we don't blame them. You know, God's timing is God's timing.
Because just like the game of baseball, victory over all challenges is only possible when all the players work as one.
From this, I hope they see that we are here for them and that they don't have to go through this by themselves. We all just need to go through this together, lean on each other.
Next on the Year of the Good Stuff.
It's been wonderful that I've been able to make it through this.
Terry Roberson's 99 Days of Heaven on Earth. Welcome back for the Year of the Good Stuff. COVID, no doubt, has wrecked futures and families. And for a 99-day stretch in the hospital, the late Terry Roberson delivered a little slice of heaven on earth. 7-year-old Tyler Norris is making the most of his cul-de-sac life.
He's got a need for speed.
He can let it rip on this dead-end neighborhood street with little to no traffic.
He's the wild child.
And a child who raced right into one of the most mature and unexpected decisions his parents have ever witnessed.
And we were sitting here watching the service.
A church service on TV, like a lot of us have done during this pandemic.
Our pastor asked us to pray, everyone to pray for Terry.
53-year-old Terry Roberson, a father of 4, diagnosed with COVID, who spent 99 days in Willis-Knighton's critical care unit, most of those on a machine designed to help him breathe and live. After almost 100 days in the hospital, Terry Roberson, the man who's released from the hospital, was celebrated on the news.
Bye, Terry. Bye, y'all. It's been wonderful that I've been able to make it through this.
and by the very medical members who worked so hard to save his life. A life and body that just days later still gave out.
I know you've asked why. I think all of us have.
Leaving his church family.
He had a heart for everybody.
And his loved ones, managing all the emotions.
And then when he passed, I actually saw it on the news first. I think it might have been your page.
And that total stranger with a need for speed, feeling the need to do something more.
And I'm like, hey, Mom, can I have that box? And then she said, yeah.
It happened during Terry's 99 days in critical care. That's when young Tyler says he felt it on his heart to share a prayer for a man he had never met.
Church, he said, and I want to pray for Terry Robertson because he has COVID.
And Tyler grabbed the box and said, I want to put him in my prayer box.
And then I was like, hey, Mom, how do you spell Robertson?
Like in his little handwriting, and I think that was one of the sweetest things, because going through reading the comments on your page and seeing that, it's those kinds that just bring us peace.
From total strangers to the total professionals working long hours inside this Shreveport hospital.
I am a crusty old ER nurse. I've never been a person who becomes attached to my patients until now.
Registered nurse Erin McDaniel admits, as Terry's days under their care began adding up, so did the many ways he was quickly becoming more like extended family to everyone inside the critical care unit. From his everyday conversations.
Terry taught me to find the joy in every day, and not just have it for yourself, but to show it to everybody that you come across.
To how he didn't miss a chance to share his love of life and the very thing guiding his life.
He brought us all together as a staff. He brought us closer to God. He brought us closer through him.
It wasn't like the staff had been giving Terry all this extra special attention. Terry, the patient fighting for his life, had been giving it to them.
As his body began to fail, it's just like Jesus came out of him more and more. Terry Robertson showed us how to live. But I want you to know this. Terry Robertson showed us how to die.
Just 10 days after his release and eventual return to the hospital, Terry passed away. You know, if you thought he had a rather amazing and unique way of reaching out and touching people, especially during his final days on this earth, wait until you hear how he's still doing it even after his death.
And I know this may be different than any other funeral that you've ever been to in your whole entire life.
Just days ago at his funeral, I guess you can say Terry's pastor pulled one right out of Terry's own playbook.
Terry Robertson's last wish would be that you would know Jesus.
At his service, they gave an invitation, and I think 7 people were saved that day.
From friends in attendance that day to that young stranger across town.
If somebody died, you can still pray for them.
He just recently was saved, so we're waiting to get him baptized.
Terry Robertson is still delivering a little slice of heaven on earth, 99 days and counting.
I think everything happened just the way it was supposed to.
I think it just makes it a lot easier to see the impact that he's made, that his life and his legacy meant something.
You know, I think most of us have always known that God works in mysterious ways. But earlier this year, we found out he also drives in mysterious ways as well. Nothing can stop the good word on Sunday mornings inside New Elizabeth Missionary Baptist Church. Pastor Danny Mitchell Jr. didn't skip a beat.
Whoever they are, wherever they are, we lift them up to you right now, dear God.
Remember, nothing can stop the message about the importance of being more loving and forgiving. This is inside the New Elizabeth Missionary Baptist Church in Shreveport. Police tell us. Even when the front of your church, police say they arrested 2 underage suspects, becomes the top story on the news.
And I say, where's the car?
On a day you really never thought could ever happen.
And the police officer say, there it is. And man, my jaws just dropped.
Just a few hours after Pastor Mitchell left this podium, and church members got up from their favorite spots in the pews.
That following Sunday, I had the members come up and just had them envision where they would be sitting. And man, they started crying.
A car barreled through the front doors, wiping out a dozen center pews. a violent ending to a police chase just feet away from the pulpit.
I'm not gonna lie and say that all my thoughts were holy.
Much like the actions of a couple of teenagers just hours before, who saw a parked car at a store with the keys in the ignition, jumped in, and took off.
The streets will esteem you and say, hey man, keep up the good work. That's why our kids are in the streets, because that's where they find their value system, in the streets.
That car, now loaded with teens, some as young as 13, weren't seriously hurt. All of them took off running, but didn't get far.
I am a witness that with God, all things are possible.
So a few weeks ago, Pastor Mitchell went to juvenile court.
So I've shown up today to let them know that they are forgiven.
He didn't get a chance to talk to their families, but he did talk to the prosecutor.
There you go, there you go. This is the first day of a beautiful relationship for the rest of our lives.
And for one of those 13-year-olds who admitted to being in the back seat, it's a shot at redemption.
Once we get this room here cleaned out, we'll focus and concentrate on that other room.
Redemption through good deeds, otherwise known as community service in the legal system, inside the very house of worship he ran away from earlier this year.
Just look at this, man. I mean, and I'm not mad at you.
Look at the church wasn't in service.
You wasn't in service.
And for his mother, Tanika.
I've been praying for it. And like I said, I hate the situation had to happen as in this way, but
it's prayers answered. Prayers for Jesus to please take the wheel at such a make or break time in her son's life.
Do you almost feel like this may save your son's life?
It will. I feel like it does.
All because Jesus certainly works and clearly drives.
He's in church.
He's in church.
In very mysterious ways.
I want to show them what can happen when you put your heart and your trust and the power of God and allow God to lead, rule, and direct their lives.
We ask that you keep that young man and his family in your prayers in the coming year as well.
Yeah, my mama cannot remember the last time I rode a bicycle.
Ahead, from driving in a mysterious way to pedaling to find the way. And later, a goal line stand from two youngsters who overcame incredible medical odds.
You ran out the back door?
To take pictures.
What were you going to take pictures of?
Daddy.
This little Claiborne Parish girl proved to the world she's definitely #Addie Strong.
911, what is your emergency?
Oh, this is accidentally knocked over our daughter. Please, where can you get?
Even after being run over twice.
I'm just really strong.
You are really strong.
Paul Anthony Marshall.
And Houghton senior Paul Marshall Jr. found a way to share his proudest day, graduation day, with his late mother.
Mommy, I got something to say.
Her last dying words to me was, she just hopes she lived long enough to see him graduate.
I did. I graduated. I know you're so proud of me. I'm happy.
These are moments we hope have inspired you over the past year. And one that impressed me the most is how a Webster Parish man decided to walk away from his everyday life just so he could peddle Jesus to others.
Everybody thought we were crazy when we moved.
Not long ago, the Herons moved into this century-old fixer-upper deep in the woods near Shongaloo. They sold their house and her husband Chad's big diesel truck, both in record time in just days. That's a sign, says Chad.
I don't believe in coincidence no more. You know, I don't.
It's because Chad says the good Lord needed him to do something.
Glad y'all clicked over here and watched our first video.
As he explained on his new Facebook page, Peddling Jesus.
You know, after I committed to it, man, I was out there and I was, okay, I'm in, let's do it.
He needed him to hit the streets as a disciple.
I know a lot of y'all are still laughing about that.
From the seat of a bicycle.
Yeah, my mama cannot remember the last time I rode a bicycle.
This 45-year-old, one-time self-described heathen,
I was pretty wild,
says he didn't feel it on his heart to just pedal around the country roads of Webster Parish. Oh no, he was headed cross-country. I went in search of Chad, finding him some 200 miles into his trip as we both entered the small town of Tickfall, Louisiana.
Yesterday seemed like it seemed like 90% uphill.
Short of plotting out campsites to pitch a tent for the night, Chad says little else is scripted. He stopped to talk with people he feels God puts in his path, including on his very first night at a campsite near the Mississippi River town of Natchez.
He's recovering from a drug addiction, shot like 4 times, stabbed a couple times, and he was only like 23 years old. And the longer we sat there and talked, we talked about church, and he said, you know, if there was somebody talking like you, I might go to church.
He told me his first person that he witnessed to. My heart was good then, you know, because I knew that's what he was doing, and I know that God called him to do that.
By the time I'd caught up with Chad, he had already pedaled through dozens of small towns in Louisiana and here in Mississippi. In fact, he pedaled right down Highway 51 here in Summit, Mississippi. Rest assured, he tells me he knows exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it, and that God only knows when he'll be done doing it.
I've got a phone call. I've got somebody that'll come get me. I've got multiple people that will come help me. You know, how many people out there don't have that one phone call? They don't have no phone call.
Hey, how y'all this morning?
Like this man, who Chad met in Mandeville. Mr. Melvin has no home and hasn't been able to land a job.
So the more questions I ask you, I could try to help him in some way.
So Chad took to his Facebook page, created a GoFundMe account, and raised over $1,000 to help him out. Not bad for a guy on a bicycle, hundreds of miles from home.
And where he's gonna lead me, I have no idea.
But much like life itself, conditions aren't always ideal. Some days it rains. The path isn't always a clear one. So after nearly 3 weeks of peddling Jesus all the way to Alabama,
hey, how y'all today?
There was Chad back on his front porch, explaining how a few days prior, the time had come for him to make that phone call.
Everywhere that allowed tent camping was booked up.
You know, Chad told me that day on the side of the road, when God speaks, don't expect some big booming voice that explains exactly what to do. Sometimes he won't reveal his plans until you've reached what feels like the end of the road.
Money had done got low.
Or in this case, the end of your checking account. But perhaps this was God's way of telling this disciple he needed to go home.
I ain't gonna complain about it. I mean, the youngest girl, her birthday was yesterday. I got to be home for that. Our anniversary's this week.
That maybe he was needed more inside that fixer-upper right now than by strangers states away, and that in due time he'll be called to mount up, start pedaling one day soon again.
As long as that voice is telling me to, you know, be a disciple, I know it's the right voice. I don't believe he'll ever tell us that's good enough.
Ahead, 2 young men living out their football dreams.
You know, for a dad, seeing your son go in the game for the first time, I mean, just pure joy.
Wednesday nights at 10 o'clock, The Good Stuff has delivered some of the most amazing and touching stories all across the Arklatex. That's our hope. And I love how one young athlete's inspiring story unknowingly inspired another young athlete and his dream to play the game he loves.
Huddle up, quick, come on. Hurry.
James Thurman is no stranger to coaching. He's coached high school football and basketball players for years.
I was more nervous just coaching little kids, you know, for the first time. Hey, I need y'all to focus still, okay?
Because herding cats is likely much easier than this.
Come on, Connor, over here, son.
Commanding the attention of a bunch of 6, 7, and 8-year-old flag football players, including one of his youngest players, Montrell Collins.
I always taught him there are no limits to what you can do as long as you put your mind to it.
And your legs, even if they were added after birth.
So he was born with total absence of his tibia bone in one leg, and then in the other leg, he was born with a partial tibia.
Yet would you believe, his mom Aisha says Montrell actually had higher hopes for this fall.
No, I was trying to get him for tackle, but we waited too late.
For this diehard Saints fan with a Steelers for a leg. Steelers?
Yeah.
I thought you were a Saints fan.
I was, but they didn't have no Saints. So.
Mom took that leap of faith. But Coach Thurman says he never had any doubts that his youngest player, Montrell, would fit right in.
First day of practice, somebody fumbled and they both dove for it, and one of Montrell's legs came off, and all the kids just like stopped.
Fit right in, just like his legs do whenever one of them pops off.
And I was like, it's okay, Montrell assured him, it's fine,
Montrell's mother tells me she texted Coach Thurman before their first ever practice. She wanted to make sure he knew what he was getting. A very rambunctious double amputee who just wanted to play football. She says his response was something she wasn't expecting to see.
He's like, everything's gonna be all right. I have another boy on my high school team. He's been great.
One coach gifted with 2 players, both living out pretty incredible dreams.
It's kind of like I told his mom, and I think God had a hand in that,
15-year-old Aiden Rose first stepped on the Glenbrook High School gym floor a year ago, determined to make the JV basketball team as an 8th grader, and he did.
He's still learning to be a basketball player, but he works hard, man. His hustle is just off the charts.
Soon after his hoop dreams took flight, Aiden wasted little time pursuing dream number 2.
I wanted to try it out. I wanted to try a new thing.
He was in our weight room, as a 8th grader, I want to say, and he was talking to me about playing football, and I thought, that's a terrible idea, son.
He was like,
Glenbrook head football coach David Feaster says initially it's not that he ever doubted the will in Aiden's heart, but was just concerned for his safety on a hard-hitting high school football field.
Of course, as parents, you do worry. You can't help, even if there wasn't an accident.
It's a worry that first began after an accident that did happen when Aiden was only 3.
August 4th, 2010, he was, his grandparents were watching him, and he was with his little cousin, and they let him outside in the backyard.
A family member on a riding mower didn't know the kids were right behind him.
And Aiden slipped and he couldn't get up in time.
That accident cost Aiden his right foot.
It'd be nice to prove to people that my prosthetic isn't a restriction at all.
But he says in the end, it gave him the willpower to overcome.
The only thing that makes us different is that we're stronger than them.
Meaning, it gave him the strength to make his dream come true this past fall. So a few varsity games into the season, Aiden's number 30 was finally called in front of a packed Friday night crowd.
For a dad, seeing your son go in the game for the first time, just pure joy.
A joy only topped by then watching Aiden make his first varsity tackle just seconds after coming into his first varsity football game.
Then you hear his name get called. I'm pretty sure I levitated a little bit as a father,
The young freshman who went on to make a number of varsity tackles by season's end, while unknowingly paving the way for the next great defender to live out his football dream.
I'm so glad that somebody allowed their son to do what he loves to do. I know he was going to be in good hands.
Before we go, I'm asking for your prayers for the family of Randy Lambert. Randy lost his long battle against cancer, passing away on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, they say the blues, the blues are depressing. Well, not for me. It's got me through the best times, the worst of times.
Randy was a longtime lover of the blues, playing in a host of bands. He was also a longtime deputy with the Shreveport Marshal's Office. In March, I shared how his fight against cancer encouraged a friend to get checked for cancer, a check that may have saved his life. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Doug Warner. We remember our friends of the good stuff. Here's hope we can celebrate more of the good stuff together in 2022.